Okay. Okay.
All right. Good morning, ladies. Eve, it's as always with Joanne. It's been a quite a trip. Sorry that your voice isn't doing so well, but it's doing better than
They
I was
not.
doing. Very nice to be with you. Nice also to be in the Morris household. We are neighbours. Mizrahi building is right next door, and we share a gate. So it's nice to be with you and in your lovely home. Thank you for family for opening it up, as you always do. I was here at the Hashmasat Sefer Torah many years ago, and every time something's going on, Moshe says Torah, and now and then I pop in, and it's good to be neighbours. So we're gonna in about half an hour, 45 minutes, go to Mount Herzl. For those who don't know, Har Herzl is the Israel's Arlington Cemetery. I don't know what it's called in the UK. I don't know if you have. Is there a national cemetery? So in Washington, there's the National Military Cemetery. In America, it's Arlington Cemetery in Washington. Israel's Har Herzl is Mount Herzl. It's called that because Herzl himself was reinterred there, I think, in 1940. If I remember correctly, he was buried in Vienna, I think, but he was reinterred in 1940. It's called Mount Herzl, and there's Herzl's grave. They've got a museum about Herzl. There are about 4,000 graves there, and they've actually run out of space there, unfortunately. I was part of recently with another hat that I wear. I'm part of the World Zionist Organization representing Israeli religious Zionism, and the part of the mountain is owned by the World Zionist Organization, and therefore we had to give authorization to expand the mountain. There's a big debate regarding it, and I heavily supported it. I said there is something special about being buried there, because they wanted to have another place somewhere else, but it's not the same. Unfortunately, about 25,000 soldiers who've been killed since the beginning of the state of Israel. But the biggest military ceremony, the biggest military cemetery is in Israel is Har Herzl. Most people aren't buried in Har Herzl because if you live in Haifa, you want your child to be close by, your family to be close by. In Tel Aviv, so every city in Israel has got a military cemetery. Normally part of the cemetery of the city, but anyone who wants to be in if you're in Jerusalem, then your zone is Har Herzl. But if you're anywhere in the country and you want your loved one to be buried there, you're allowed, and a lot of people do. We made the decision there because where we live in Yad Binyamin, it's very much not in the middle of nowhere. Nothing's in the middle of nowhere in Israel, and there's a very small cemetery along the road, and it's not so mechubad, and there's one or two military graves there, and I just thought it was mechubad, in Har Herzl. So it's a very special place. Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, who was the Rosh Hashiva, as you know, called Torah, and the great Gadol B'Yisrael. Very famously, I've heard the story both from Rabbi Nevensal, the Rav of the Old City, and Rav from Yisrael Merilau. They both said the same. They've heard the same, and I mentioned it at the Askara, that when at the memorial, at the Daniel's 1-year memorial since he passed away, I mentioned it at Har Herzl, that Rabbi Auerbach famously, when students would come to him and say to him that they want to go to the graves of tzaddikim to daven. Somebody wanted to go to the grave of the Rambam in Tiberias. He said, but you don't need to do that. Just walk across the road from Beit Pagan and you've got the graves of the soldiers. Why did he say that? Because the Gemara in Masechet Baba Metzia Baba Batra Daf Yud says that the place where Harugei Malchut rest, the place where those who killed Al Kiddush Hashem as Jews rest, is the highest place in Gehinnom. Sorry, in Gan Eden. It says in the world to come. It says She'ein Bria or Bria Lichola Lamod B'Mchitzatan. No creature can stand, not even Gedolei Israel, can stand in their place in Gan Eden for people who've been killed as Jews. And Rabbi Auerbach added, not only the people on Herzl killed as Jews, they were killed while defending other Jews. And the Mishnah in Masechet Sanhedrin says, Kol hamitzil nefesh achat b'Yisrael, ki'ilu hitzil olamam lo, a person who saves one soul if they save an entire world. So not only were people killed for being Jews, they were also doing while protecting Jews. Rav Nebenzahl has famously said he's in his 90s, he's a student of Rav from Auerbach, and he is the Rabbi of the Old City of Jerusalem. I read a story about him that he was in Mount Herzl at a military funeral, and he'd been there for 2 hours, and all the speeches, and somebody brought him a chair to sit. And he said, Rebbe, sit. He said, I don't sit in Mount Herzl. The reason I don't sit in Mount Herzl, it says in the Beit HaMikdash, when you went into the Chatzir, the courtyard, you were not allowed to sit. He said, this place is no less holy, and I don't sit in Mount Herzl. So it's a very, very holy place. Yeah. So I mentioned at the memorial that our son Daniel is a very, very big chevra man. I was just talking about it earlier. A very big chevra man. He loved being with people. The most, you spoke about some of Daniel's friends. Those three, you mentioned Adam, you mentioned Joey, and you mentioned Aaron. I think Daniel has at least.
Met them, they're lovely.
Yeah, you met them now. Daniel has at least 35 people who I know who say that he was their best friend. Daniel, I think, was his friend's best friend. He fulfilled what Rabbi Yoshua says in Pirkei Avot. Rabbi Yoshua says in the beginning, I think, chapter 2 of Pirkei Avot, where Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai says to his students, go find the best path to follow in life. What's the best midah quality a person should have? And his students each one give a different reason. The reason Rabbi Yoshua says that for the best quality you can have in life is chaver tov. He says if okay. I give so many talks. Most of the time, I feel I don't know. It's like even killed, and you never know with this. Anyone who's been through it, you never know when you feel what. It's just is what it is, and it's okay. That's my line. It's okay. I learned that it's okay from Sherry Mandel in her book where her son Kobe Mandel was killed. In fact, at Daniel's bris, her Kobe Mandel and Yosef Ishran, 2 14-year-old boys, had been murdered. And they were looking for their bodies, and they found them in a cave. They'd been bludgeoned to death. It was 23 years ago. And they found the bodies on the morning of Daniel's on Daniel's Brit. And I spoke about it at the Brit. And in Sherry Mandel's book about her son Kobe, Comedy for Kobe, you might be familiar. She says in a book called The Blessing of a Broken Heart, she says there this thing of how she's often overwhelmed by tears in the most unusual places. You can be in a shop and be buying shoes for herself, and she sees a pair of shoes and it reminds her of her son. And she writes over there, then when she gets overwhelmed by it, her children say, okay, here goes mom again. They say, okay, mom, you've got 3 minutes. Okay, we'll leave you to have a little cry, and you've got 3 minutes. And she said, because when it comes, just let it pass like a wave, just let it flow through, and it passes. Gamze Yavor. And that's why I think Chazal often call, I don't know if we say in the Psalm for Friday, Adir B'Marom Hashem, the Psalm of the day, we say, Mishbarei Yam. The waves are called Mishbarim, from the word shover, to break. Waves break. Even the worst possible wave, the tsunami, it eventually breaks. It eventually stops. The land will stop it. And every wave, the surfer goes into the surf and gets caught in the wave, and the wave turns them upside down on their head, injures them. The wave passes and it stops, and you get up and the water's calm. And even if there's going to be another wave, so you just got to in life ride the waves. Sometimes you can duck and avoid them. Sometimes you can't. It's too late. You're stuck in a way. There's nothing you can do. You've been into the senior at that point. Okay, this one's going to take me, and it turns you around. Just go with it. And if the more you fight it, the more injured you get, and you just go with it, and you pick yourself up and you go. So I think I have also learned, when you feel what you feel, and you just let it flow through you and you let it pass. But I was saying about Daniel. I said that, he's a very, very sociable person. So many people see him as their best friend, including my son, Jonathan. If you ask my son, Jonathan, who his best friend was, he would say Daniel. I'm still not sure, if Daniel would say that Jonathan is his best friend. The reason I say that, the reason I say that is, I'm not sure. The reason I'm not sure is because I really don't know who Daniel's best friend was. So he's got so many best friends. I know that. I don't know. We can have a debate. Yes, but I'm saying the question I want to say is there's so many people who, without flinching, will say Daniel is their best friend. And in his tank, one of the four who, tank crew's got four. There's actually five of them, two drivers, but only one can go at a time. And the one who was supposed to drive that morning on Shabbat was feeling ill on Friday, and Daniel sent him home. And he went home. The other 4 members of his tank has happened to him. What's happened to them? So, and he gave Daniel a hard time. He definitely gave Daniel a hard time. And he came to Shelley. Shelley's become his surrogate mother. She looks after him. She really, he does. You have, sure. And he comes to Shelley and he says to Shelley, he says,
was at the Shiva. I was wondering where he was. We heard about him. He didn't come the whole 5.5 months. But yeah.
So his name is Silko. Everything in the army is surnames. Silko. To the extent that my son Jonathan and Daniel are Perez in the army. I literally talking to his mafakeh, the guy's like 35, 40-year-old, battalion commanders, comes to talk to me about. And he would tell us Perez. I want to tell you about Perez. I said, hello, you can call him Jonathan. You're talking to his father. But that's how they talk. For an hour, he's talking to me about Perez. That's how they are. So in the army is Perez. So his name's Silko. His first name, Ido. And he really, Shelley's looked after him. They've had all types of issues in their family. And of all people, it surprised me when he came and he said to you that Daniel was his best friend. Daniel looked out for him.
Yeah.
He gave Daniel such a hard time. Daniel grew tremendously in the army. He grew tremendously in the army. I'll say another thing about Daniel, if I'm honest. Daniel invested more in his friends than he did in his family. Daniel was not a family-based person. He was a friends-based person. Shelley and I have learned so much about Daniel from his friends. I thought I had misjudged Daniel a lot because I think there's two places that I learned a lot about Daniel from. Shelley and I learned a tremendous amount about him from his friends. Shelley always says that being around his friends gives Shelley the most comfort. We learned so much about him because he invested so much in his friends, and he surprised us. Daniel was not a good listener at home at all. His friends, like, what stands out about Daniel? He was the best listener. I said, are you talking about Daniel Perez? And how many? I said, no, he would sit for hours. I said, Daniel Perez would sit, friend after friend, religious, irreligious, boys, girls, yeshiva, bochrim, non-religious. Daniel Perez, there's a girl who tells she's religious. She's from a kibbutz up north, northern kibbutz. She was at the shiva. I remember the one who said her girlfriend, remember? The one from the officers' course. Anyway, but not her, but I'm saying. This girl comes, and she says, she just has to tell us, she said, whenever they were in a base together in the north, she said if ever she was stuck there for Shabbat, she hoped Daniel was there, because no matter how busy she would just sit, she was the most unbelievable Ben Siach. I said, Daniel Perez. I couldn't believe, like a person to talk to, just a person to talk to. And they were not boyfriend or girlfriend, at all. He wasn't like that at home. Daniel was a person, very ADHD, very on the go. And I thought that his friendships were just, that's what you do. He's a socially based person. He spends time with people. He likes being around people. But I saw it wasn't just that. He made a big difference in people's lives. And so many of them have told us, friend after friend. You know, when the guy who spoke at the funeral, his name is I can't blank so. Raz. Raz Al Ghazi is one of his best friends. They were in the army together almost from day one. They're like two peas in a pod. All the soldiers to joke about them like a married couple. They're just very, very close. And Raz, thanks. How about you? Is that for me or for you?
No, it's fine.
Okay, thanks for me. Thank you for looking out for me. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. But absolutely, yeah. What was I saying for Jane interrupted me? Raz. Raz, okay. I was saying that Raz, very special guy, Raz. Shelley says often that Raz reminds her the most of Danielle. And when I said to Raz once, I said, you were his best friend in the army. He said, Doron, I wasn't his best friend in the army. I was his best friend. I said, Doron, I was his best friend, you know. I'm not sure Daniel's best friend was because there's so many people from every walk of life who he invested so much in. So I think we've learned a lot about him through his friends. Another place that I learned a lot about him is from his diary. He kept a diary that we didn't actually know about. A notebook. I call it a diary. It's not dear diary. It's a notebook.
Yeah, diary.
Doesn't mean it's not a diary. I'm going with diary. Okay. Diary. Okay. He kept a notebook diary, and where he wrote all types of things to himself when he became an officer, and he had soldiers who he was commanding. And in this diary, he wrote a whole bunch of things which I learned a lot about him, and that's where I feel I misjudged him. Daniel also wasn't our frumest child, and that was hard for me as a father. I gave him a hard time. Jonathan's our frum kid, not frum. Jonathan is our kid who was born. I thought parenting was easy after Jonathan. Like the kid just does what you want him to do. Like I said, Shell, this is easy. 10 kids. I mean, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I'm just saying, Daniel, Jonathan's the type of kid, like the wind-up toy, that you just put on the derrick and off it goes. And the derrick is not just the derrick of each card. It's any derrick you want him to go on. Like the kid just like, unbelievable. And then came Daniel. And Daniel decided from day one what his derrick was going to be in everything. Not just in Judas, in everything. You couldn't tell the kid to do anything. And when we are talking, actually, he wasn't a rebellious kid. He didn't have a rebellious bone. He's the most honest, good, decent kid. He just was an independent kid. You couldn't tell him what to do. This kid, and for me, it was hard. How much therapy I went for as a parent. I said, this kid just doesn't do anything I want him to do. So we went for that Ayeka therapy, whatever. And after a while, I said, Shelley pushed me to go for therapy. And I said to this lady, look, I don't know why I'm paying you. Because all you're doing is trying to help me accept what I came here not to accept. I said, so she said, but is your way working? I said, it's not working. But I'm not prepared to relinquish my responsibility as a parent. I'm not prepared to do that. Is there no like middle way, like these like nonsense boundaries and schmoundaries and all these stupid things? I'm just joking, it was being facetious, but I'm saying, oh, do you not have any of these? She said, there's no magic formula. And for me, that was very, very, very hard to accept. And it's hard for us as parents, especially after Jonathan. And Jonathan kept saying to us, he said, Dad, leave Daniel alone. He is such a good kid. He gave me a big chidush, Jonathan. It doesn't say chanoch lenar al pi erko. It doesn't say educate a child according to his values. It's your values. Educate a child according to his way. Don't give up on your values. But sometimes the only way not to give up on your values is just to let go of the derech. Let the kid go. And it is so blinking hard. And it was so hard for me. And he's so strong-willed, and it became power struggles. Once Jonathan Daniel said to me, he said, Dad, for a guy supposed to be so clever, you're not clever. He said, have you noticed that in every power struggle you've had with me, you lose, and you still keep coming bashing your head against the wall? Like, what is it with you? Like once, I woke on the wrong side of the bed once, and I said, today, Daniel is coming with me to davening, come hell or high water, on Shabbos. And I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and I stood next to his bed. He was 15. I said, we've been Israel to Daniel. After half an hour, he realized he's going to lose this one. So he gets up and brushes his hair, and he says, Dad, come here. He says, I am going to come on time with davening. I can see it's really important to you. I'm just letting you know that as of Motzei Shabbat after Havdalah, I'm taking off my yarmulke. I said to him, Daniel, are you really going to take off your yarmulke? He said, Dad, listen to me. I'm not going to take off my yarmulke. I'm just going to show you that you're going to lose. I've got so much on you. I can take you out in a second. He said, is it that important to you that I come to davening? You're going to lose. In the end, I'm going to get you back because you're forcing me to do something I don't want to do. And then he said, for a guy who's supposed to be clever, you're really not so clever. And it was difficult. And Shelley always was the guide over here to accept as parents the things that you don't want to have to accept. And Jonathan kept saying, Dad, let Daniel go. We are so similar.
He used to say, just Daniel's going to be okay.
Daniel's going to be okay.
Daniel's going to be fine.
Just let him go on. It wasn't just in Yiddishkeit. It was like the kid, I don't know how he dressed, remember? The kid, flat caps. He used to wear these like stupid caps and like every farmer being said, like, it's so cheap. It's so, but
labels all the time.
Sorry?
Yeah, the labels. Labels.
Daniel was the stylish one in our family. He really got into like his mom. No, he was very, very stylish. And he liked, there were glasses, and I'm very not that way. And my son Jonathan, like very minimalistic that way, even though Shelley's taught me and I'm getting a bit better now, looking a bit better. I'm working on it. But Daniel once took me to buy for himself glasses called Lindbergh glasses. And we go to the shop in Amic Raphaim. And we go into the Amic Raphaim shop and Daniel. And then I start hearing how much these glasses cost.
Just the frame.
The frame, just what? Are you going to pay this amount of money? Like, that's like the price of my car. I mean, it's not, but I'm saying, no, I'll pay it off after 36 months. And Dad, how much money are you going to put in? He always had a good negotiation. But he would decide what he's buying and then negotiate. I said, that doesn't work that way. You can't say because it costs 5,000 shekels, you need to put in half. Yeah, if it costs 1,000 shekels, I'd put in half. No, but he was always an unbelievable negotiator. And I said, I'm not doing it. He said, I said, Daniel, these glasses, it's not these ones. I said, these glasses cost 300 shekels. And you want to spend that amount of money? And he said, without flinching, he said, Dad, that's why you look the way that you do. He said, Dad, it's fine. It's fine. But I don't want to look that way. So he was his own man, Daniel. He wore to his bar mitzvah a bow tie. No, I'm saying, no, just like it's so not, yeah, just something where, why are you wearing a bow tie? I don't know, I'm wearing a bow tie to my bar mitzvah. He was his own man, this guy. And in everything about his life is his own. I'll tell you one story. I could regale you here with stories about Daniel. I'll just tell you one story. Before that, I was just going to say, before that story that I was saying, that I learned a lot about him from his diary notebook. And in the diary, he wrote something that I just didn't think was Daniel. In the last year of his life, he really became very focused on leadership and thinking about life a lot and really, really introspecting. I think when he became an officer, which meant that he commanded soldiers, and he always knew there was going to be a war at some point, that life and death are in his hands with his soldiers. And he really became very, very serious. He became very introspective. I spoke a lot to him about leadership and about life. I noticed that he used to look at all my books. He wasn't particularly interested in the Torah books. He was a little bit interested in the leadership books. He was mainly interested in the books on finance, but I only had 3 out of like thousands. He said, Dad, you've got 3 books on finances and they're actually not that good. He said, why don't you invest your money? I said, I don't have a lot of money. He said, well, that's why you should be investing. He said, like, again, for a guy who's smart, he said, you're not so smart. And he said, but those are just excuses. He said, your money's got to work for you. I'm already investing money. He's always playing the markets and everything. And then I noticed in the last year, none of his books on finance, only books on leadership. Everything at leadership and life and everything. And even some Torah books. He loved Rabbi Goldstein's book on Shabbat. Absolutely loved it. And he asked me for a few copies to give to friends of his. And
rebellious.
nothing was rebellious. What's that?
It was
In that book.
Yeah.
Yes.
He loved that book. And he just said, there wasn't a rebellious bone in his body. Yeah, he just wasn't rebellious. He just was independent. And if you went up against him, then he said, if you go up against me, instinctively you stepping in, I don't want to say harder, you're violating. That's me. You don't make me do what I don't feel is the right thing for me. I said, yeah, but I know, but you're 6 years old. It's not when he was 6. But I will tell you a story when he was, I'll come back to the diary in a second. I'll tell you a story when Daniel was, this is the moment that I realized I needed parenting therapy. And this was the time that I realized that, as in Hebrew they say, Nafala Simon, that I realized the penny dropped, that this kid is going to be whatever he wants to be. And there is absolutely nothing I can do about it. He was 12 years old. We were in the throes. He was 12 and a half. We were thinking of giving him a cell phone, his first cell phone, around bar mitzvah time. He managed to negotiate to get it early, as he always did. And he comes to me and he says to me, Bahai Lishna, this is the story. Dad, come into his room, sit down, says, Dad, I wanted to share something with you. There's something that I want to do that I know you won't approve of. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think what he wanted to do was to go take a day off school at the age of 12 and go on a teal in Johannesburg, which you don't do in Johannesburg. It's like Bikachnevish. It's like life-threatening. You don't not arrive at school. So if an international incident, if someone doesn't arrive at school, you know.
They email you.
No, if you don't not.
Yeah, they do.
No such thing as you don't arrive. I said, Daniel, you're not doing that. I said, he said, Dad, just listen. He said, I know you're not going to approve. And he said, the reason I'm sharing it with you is because I feel it's wrong for me to do it behind your back. He had a conscience. He never lied. The challenge with Daniel is, what do you do when you've got a kid who's very naughty but can't lie? So they've got to come and tell you the naughty things that they're going to, and they're independent, so now you can't do anything about it as well. But Daniel comes up to me and he says to me, Dad, there's something that I want to do. I think it was this thing about the school. And he said, I know you won't approve. You know, you're a rabbi and my father and you head of the school and all this thing. I know you won't. But I think I should tell it to you. But I'm still going to do it. But I know that you'll have an issue with it. So I'm going to give you the choice of what punishment to choose to give me for it. I had to hold my chest. I said, Daniel, just say that again. Say that again. I said, Daniel, you're not going to do it. Then he says without flinching, he says to me, but Dad, it's not your choice. I said, Daniel, what are you talking about? You're 12 years old. What are you talking about? You're not going to do it. And he says to me, Dad, it's not your choice. I said, Daniel, in this house, we're not good. He said, Dad, you're never at the house. I can do what I want to in the house. What do you mean in this house? I can do what I want to behind it all the time. You're just like you've got a good, honest son who's telling you what he's going to be doing. I said, Daniel, when you're 18, the age game, he says. When you're 18, he says, if it's okay when I'm 18, why is it not okay now? And secondly, isn't you always say, according to the Torah, 13? That's in 6 months' time. You're going to make a family machlokas over 6 months. I'm saying, is that the big, like, what are you talking about? I said, Daniel, you're 12 years old and you're not going to do it. He said, Dad, I know it's hard for you, but it's not your choice. Now, the Moroccan blood is slowly like rising. Shelly said to me when we got engaged, she said to me, some of my friends said that, like, you know, you come from a Moroccan background, like, you know, like, they said, like, you know, like, sorry to say it, like Moroccans, like can they hit their wives? Like, would you? She says to me, would you ever hit me? And I, without flinching, said, Shell, I would never hit you as long as you behave. And I'm happy to say it's our anniversary coming up. She's behaved for 27 years. Okay. So the thing is with Daniel that so Daniel is now, what was I saying about the story? The story. I said, Daniel, you're not going to do it. I said, Dad, it's not your choice. He said, tell me what the punishment. I came to talk to Shil. I said, Shil, what are we going to do? So we sat and we debated and we said, okay, we're just giving him a cell phone. We're going to take his cell phone away for 2 weeks. Show this kid. You ask for a punishment, you'll get a punishment. So I came into his office and said, Dad, Mommy and I have spoken about it. If you want to do it, we're taking your phone away for 2 weeks. He looks at me straight. He said, are you serious or are you joking? I said, I'm serious. Listen to what he says. He said, that's not a fair punishment. He said, Dad, when I said choose a punishment, it's got to match the crime. He said, I know now what you're doing. You're trying to force me not to do it by giving me a disproportionate punishment. That's not education. That's unfair. That's manipulation. I said, Daniel, you're damn right. You're not going to do this. He said, Dad, we've been through this. It's not your choice. You can't give a punishment which is not appropriate for the crime. And then he said the following thing to us. At that point, I realized. He said, you know what, Dad, maybe go think about it again and go speak to Mommy again. At that point, I realized either I'm going to kill him, right? Which I considered, or give him a zets, which I also considered, or I just have to realize that this kid's beaten us. I phoned one of my Rosh Yeshiva and I said, listen, please help me. What do I do? He said, Doron, kids like Daniel, feed them and daven. There's nothing else to do. Nothing else to do. Pray. What are you going to do? Don't get in his way. Stop getting in his way. But it's so hard for us as a parent because you don't want to relinquish your responsibility. I would say, but I've got a responsibility as a parent. I said, you do, but you can't do what you can't do. And Jonathan kept saying, Dad, Daniel's a great, just leave him. Just let him, you know. And that's eventually what we did. And it's hard for us as parents. Daniel went to the army. We always feel Daniel's the type of kid that if he wants to do something, nothing will stop him. If he doesn't want to do it, you can't make him do it. He went to the army and he just did it in the best possible way, became the most disciplined kid. He fought with the army because he was injured in a wakeboarding skiing accident and his profile came down. He fought to be a combat soldier. He wanted to be in the Golani Brigade infantry. He couldn't because his physical profile was too low after his injury, but he got into tanks. He became the most committed tank person. He went on to what's called commander's course before he became officer. He was the outstanding commander. He didn't tell us that he was chosen as the outstanding commander. We went to Latrun, it's a place of the tank corps, and we're sitting, and Daniel didn't tell us that he'd been selected the outstanding commander of the course. And he told Jonathan, didn't tell us.
He was the most excellent soldier out of, I don't know how many, 100 or 150 out of.
It is the outstanding commander of the whole force. And they say the outstanding commander of the course, Daniel Perez, without flinching. I said to Shelley, I didn't know there's another Daniel Perez. She said, no, it's our Daniel. No, not because I didn't think he was capable of it, because he didn't tell us. And I hadn't realized that Daniel had taken the army so seriously. With Daniel, I've got lots of other stories I won't tell now because of the time, but that if Daniel decides to do something, nothing can stop him. In fact, I will tell you one more story because this one for me is.
I have to get back to the diary.
Come back to the diary. I'll tell you the story because this story for me is the essence of education. Education 101 in one story, Daniel. When Shelley and I were celebrating our 50th wedding anniversary, it was 12 years ago, we decided to go to Mauritius, the South African side, Mauritius, yeah. We went for a week to Mauritius. And it was amazing. And just before we went, Daniel comes to me as we're packing and about to go to the door, taps me on the shoulder. Let me go back a step. The year before, I was head of school, Yeshiva College. We introduced a curriculum called Shorashim that you had to learn Ivrit and Tanakh, especially Chumash, through root words, about 500 root words. And if you know these root words, as opposed to English, which has got no rules, very few rules, Hebrew follows a very, very strict rules in Binyanim and all these things. So, and root words. The Hebrew language is unbelievable. Even the word, I'll just give you one, there's a million examples. I spoke about a wave in Hebrew, mashber. It's a gal, mashber from the word shever. The word shever is something which breaks, right? The word crisis is well known in Hebrew as mashber, something which is be broken. But we also know that our sages tell us, it's not only our sages, it's based in the book of Yeshayahu, that the stone that, then the birthstone that a woman will be birthed on is also called a mashber. It's not only Chazal, the sages, it's also in the Bible, in Tanakh. And why is it called a mashber? Because the Malbim, the commentator, says so many things get broken in the process of birth, in a woman's body and everything, so much blood and so much brokenness, and therefore there's a shever, there's a brokenness. But that say Chazal is our sages is the right perspective on fasting. In crisis, there's a lot of blood, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of challenge, there's excruciating pain. But something good comes out. Therefore, the way to view crisis in life, according to our sages, comes from the very word for crisis, which is a shever, which is the very word for childbirth, which is how this frame with challenges in life. And that's just one word, shever. Then I noticed another thing about the word shever, broken, or shavor is broken. Joseph in Egypt is called the mashbir. 10 times it says about Joseph, the word shever. It says about Joseph when he goes to Egypt. Jacob says to his sons, go to Egypt because there's famine in the land. He says, Kiyesh shever b'Mitzrayim. And what is shever? Shever is grain. The word in Hebrew to provide grain is lishbor bar. So it made me realize that the solution to the crisis of famine is the shever itself. Shever is not only brokenness, it's the solution to the shever. This is all one word of Hebrew, of how it connects to so many different things. So we said, teach Shorashim. So we had a Shorashim quiz. We introduced this whole curriculum. Somebody called Rabbi Gross from Ramat Beit Shemesh. He came, whole curriculum course. And being the head of the school, I wanted Daniel to study for that. We introduced a quiz, or like the Americans call a B. Shorashim B. We call it a quiz. What do you call it in England? Quiz? Quiz. Like, yeah. We speak English the way it's supposed to be. No disrespect. No disrespect.
Everyone has something.
It's McDonald's, no disrespect. But okay. But so the Shorashim quiz. So now we did amongst the whole school, everyone to do the Shorashim quiz. So I said to Dan, we're going to do the quiz. He was in grade 4 or 5, and let's do it. Daniel and I sat for 6 weeks before and after school learning every one of these 500 shorashim, backwards, forwards, upside. The kid knew them. You couldn't have done it better. He does the quiz. He comes second. Impressive out of a school of 430 kids. Impressive. Fast forward a year. Shelly and I are about to go to Mauritius. Daniel comes to me. Dad, it's a shorashim quiz in 5 days. I'm thinking of doing it. What will you give me if I win? I said, Daniel, have you started learning? Not yet. I want to see if it's worth my while. I said, Daniel, stop wasting my time. We learned for 6 weeks before, day and night, together. You came second. I said, Dad, and also I said, Daniel, what do you want? He said, I want, and there's something that used to be called an iPod. Remember something called iPods? Once upon a time, you get 3,000 songs into this little thing, and today you can get 3 gazillion into. So I said to him, Daniel, I'll buy you the whole of Apple if you want. I didn't say that. I was thinking that. You want an iPod? Gesundheit. I promise you, if he would have betted me then, he would have won whatever he wanted. This kid had no chance. I said, have you started learning? No. You can have an iPod, no problem. Shelly and I go, we're in Mauritius, having a good time, sitting out there in the porch. Malka Bender phones Spender. Mazel Tov, Doro Rabbi Perez, Daniel won. I say to her, I said, just calm down. Daniel who and won what? You see the trend, you know? She said, Daniel won the Shorashim because I said, Malka, please, I'm on holiday. Please, you know. I looked at my watch. It's not the 1st of April. It's not April Fool's Day. It's not Purim. I said, thank you. I put the phone down. I didn't think for a second that she was telling the truth. I thought they like doing something on me. Then Ilan Kaplan phones, the father of Matan Kaplan, who beats Daniel the year before. He says, Doron, Rabbi Perez, I don't know what you fed your kid this year. He was unstoppable. I said, Ilan, are you joking with me? I said, no. I said, Ilan, are you joking with me? He said, no. Did he really win? I said, it's impossible. He said, Rabbi Perez, he won. I said, there's no way. I phoned Daniel. I said, Daniel, did you win the Shoshan Club? He said, yes. I said, Daniel, it's impossible. He said, I learned with you for 6 weeks. I know how hard we learned and you came second. There's no way. And then he said the one line of education. He said, Dad, last year, I'll be honest with you, I didn't want to do it. I did it because you wanted me to do it. Last year, I did it for you. This year, I did it for me. And if it was for him and for me, for him meant it's got to be an incentive that he wants and then he has to decide to do it. And if so, you couldn't stop this kid. So when he went to the army, that's what he chose to do. He went ada sof in things, 110%, because he chose it and he wanted it. He said, but how does ADHD teach the kid? It's no life, it's discipline. He can do anything if that's what he chooses to do. And he chose to do that, and that was Daniel. And this is also what Daniel chose to do on Simchat Torah. Daniel did not need to take his tank out of a safe tank position after 2 hours of fighting against Hamas and leave the safety of his tank position. He was the only tank left. The other tank had been shot. He didn't have to do that. He could have stayed where he was in a safe tank position outside Nachal Oz kibbutz and just shot. He saw that at 8:45, after 2 hours of battle, there were 50 to 60 Nukhba terrorists who had come on motorbikes. We know all of this because even though he was missing and then injured, and we, but we know it from the black box of the tank, which the army after the Shiva let us listen to. And in this, you hear 2 hours and 16 minutes. Shirley hasn't yet listened to it. Part of our family have. I say it's a very, like everything this year, it's a mixed emotion. On the one hand, listening to the last 2 hours and 16 minutes of your son's life is incredibly difficult and tragic. You know how it ends. But on the other hand, you're listening to the last 2 hours and 16 minutes of your son's life. You're listening to the decisions he made. The Kiddush Hashem, Mesirat Nefesh. And you see at 8:45, he's in his tank position. And you hear, he says, they see 50 or 60 Nukhba terrorists coming in motorbikes in the second wave. And many, many officers told us he could very easily have stayed in his tank position, might have saved himself. But you see, it didn't even cross his mind, because when you take an oath to defend the Jewish people, it's not to protect myself, it's to protect the land and the people. And at that moment, he instinctively knew he was the last line of defense. He knew that he had been fighting. And if he shoots and he shells them with his tank, he'll kill 10 or 20. The majority will get in without even thinking. He says, guys, we're going straight at them. Put the turret down. He had to open the top of the tank to put his head out to hold his machine gun. And off they went. And
They were actually running in, and the base was over here.
Yeah,
so,
they were.
So he was over here, and there was the fence and the base. He
wanted to cut them all off.
So he went,
It's a 50 or 60 riding in motorbikes. So he had to come out of this tank hill and go out of it and go straight at them. So he could stop them getting into the base and into the kibbutzim. You try to cut them off, and he's shooting shells and he's firing his gun and he's commanding them and turn the tank, and then he's knocking them over. So go straight at them, knock them over, turn right, turn the tank around. They showed us that from the drone picture from the next day, that all the tank tracks all around, literally until we hear on the walkie-talkie that things came to an end. Shirley doesn't want me to say, so I won't. Whatever happened, but we know that that unfortunately towards the end of that battle, he was probably killed. We only found that out 163 days later. So I just want to say, and maybe I'll check if you want to add, I just want to end and say about in his diary came back a whole bunch of things. It came back with 3 boxes from Nachal Oz base. When it arrived after 2 months, again, we were hoping I couldn't even look at these boxes. I asked Yossi, our army liaison, to put them in his room and cover them with a blanket. I didn't want to look at them. And eventually, Jonathan and our daughter Dina went through them, and they both said to me, Dad, there's a diary, a notebook that you should really look at. You'll get a lot of strength from it. So they took it out and left it on his table for me. Eventually, I opened it. And I learned a lot about him from that, because he wrote on his diary, he wrote on the first page, his way of cheshbon nefesh. He wrote, Devarim shani choshev aleim lifnei hashena, things I think about every night before going to sleep. And he wrote 5 different points. And one of the points he wrote 5 different things. The first point he wrote is this. He said, he wrote, Lama ani kan, why am I here? And he wrote, since having gone to Poland in grade 10, in grade 11, and seeing firsthand the price that Jewish people paid when we didn't have the ability to defend ourselves, now that we have an army ability to defend ourselves, my responsibility to do what I can. And then he wrote on a separate line, Im lo ani azmi, if not me, then who? And these are these sort of stickers we've made. You see them all around. I've got some for you here. And he wrote that in his diary. And I didn't know a lot of these things about Daniel. I didn't realize how much he was. We made a video in tribute to him on October 7th, a year later, and in this, the narrative was, I can send it to you if you haven't seen it. It was that for me, Daniel's movement as a child was from a self-centered teenager to a self-actualizing 20-year-old, which I always thought he was about excellence and self-actualizing, to a selfless hero. And you see from his diary the selflessness. He always said, Dad, the day of war will come. He always thought it was going to be in the north. And he said, when it does, my soldiers and I will be ready. No one thought it would be in the south, but Daniel was ready. He got into his tank, dressed foot to toe, and they had almost no time to get ready. He fought with absolute Messiah Nefesh for 2016 minutes. And he on that day did what he had always done. And that is, if he decides that something is the right thing to do, he will do it out of self. And in the last year of his life, it became clear to him that the right thing to do is Messiah Nefesh. It's not about yourself. It's about what the right thing to do is. And in this video, I quoted from Otto Frank, who says something about his daughter, Anne Frank. He said, it's only when I read my daughter's diary that I learned so much about her. I don't understand how I could live in the same room as her for 2 years and I didn't know her. Because our kids don't always tell us exactly what's going on here. Daniel told his friends, his close friends, all 35 of them. But he didn't quite tell us. And I think the things he wrote in his diary, I don't think he even told his friends. I think it was for him. And we just wanted to share that. It would be good if we went to her rehearsal. It's a very holy place. My wife, or maybe you can say, I know that you feel chizuk when you go there. I don't, personally. But I go with my wife. It's not that I don't feel chizuk. It's not that I don't feel chizuk. It's just, I do feel chizuk, but I don't feel the need to go. It's a very holy place and it's always moving to go there, but I don't feel the need to go. But I don't need to think about it because Shirley does, so the need's taken care of. I don't know if you want to say something. I'm going to ask you if I may. I've just got to go and record my weekly Dvar Torah. So, and then we'll go to Har Herzl. I don't know if you want to spend a few minutes. I'm going to leave. Then, did you see these booklets we put together? I don't know if you saw them. You know, I've got. Anyway, these booklets are something I put together. It was actually supported. You know. Thoughts about everything we've been through in the last year, trying to process it through the themes of the Yamim Noraim days of war and Sukkot. So got these stickers. I also need to go and talk. So I'm going to run. Maybe you want to say a word about that, sure. Even if we just go there for 10, 15 minutes, say something to him, a very holy place. I want to say one thing about my spiritual life. That really is much more insightful than me, and as she keeps reminding me. No, but she really is much more insightful than me. But you know, we all process things in different ways. I'm comfortable in general in my public role. I've always been, long before October 7th, to share what I'm going through, not in an inappropriate way. I mean, I haven't been on Facebook until 3 months ago. I've never believed that that's the place to share things. That's the furthest thing they're from, you know. And so, I mean, if as a rabbi from the pulpit or in a shur, if I'm trying to say something meaningful, I'm happy to make the Torah real because I feel that it's a Torah chaim. It's got to connect to the real issues of life. So it feels authentic to me, and I'm comfortable to do it publicly in forum that I'm comfortable. Shelley is, you know, she processes things a lot more with her closest friends. She's got many, many close friends. Two of them are here. Gail is a very, very, very dear and close friend. Rebbetzin Joanne, as you know, and a handful of her posse, as we call them, who really Shelley's posse who really look out for her.
Called something else.
Yeah, called something else. Shelley's girl, Shelley's people. So
She gets
yeah.
chronic.
Shelley Chronicles. Anyway, so I'll leave for Shelley. So she normally doesn't come to these things, but once Joanne asks, I got my marching orders, which I was happy to do that, but it was all good. So I'm going to go. So maybe I'll meet you at the car in 10, and you want to say something, and then we'll go to Har Herzl for 15 minutes, and unless you want to go with them. Okay, I'll leave it to Shelley. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.
I must say, whenever I come, I don't actually know what I'm going to say because there's so many things to say. So I don't know if that's what you want to do. I just spoke what I wanted to say. So, all right. Do you maybe want to say about that?
Thank you.
I'm
I'm just going to say thank you. And, it just actually are no words. I often say, it's not okay, but it's okay. And when I read Sherry's book, and that was like something that you take with you because we're living in a world. It's not okay. That's okay, but we're going to greet Mashiach very soon. And this is part of it.
One of the stories, the first sikha in the book, that article is called Broken Completeness. About I really believe that life in the short part of the Torah, and specifically the Torah, is about both a broken sound and a complete sound. That life is so complete and okay, and it's so broken at the same time, and that's okay. It's okay to not be okay. There's a book, I believe, called that, which I didn't know about. Somebody's teaching me to know there's a book called It's Okay to Not Be. I said I didn't. But I do know that I'm so not okay, but I'm okay. And it really is okay. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll leave that. Sure.
Okay.
Sure. I'll be 10 minutes in the car. Okay.
So, should we just?
Yeah, please text him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to just really to say thank you. In the 5.5 months that we waited for, well, we thought Daniel was alive. I have about 9 ladies on the group, Gail included, and everything for me was done. Times had to feed me, and my bedroom got taken over. Lawrence said the bedroom's not the bedroom anymore. These amazing ladies who just were at my beck and call, didn't leave me alone for a minute because I couldn't be alone. So I'm just very grateful because this is what kept me going in the 5.5 months. So I just want to say thank you to all of you for the candles, the tefillot, the Maasim Tovim, like during the time, and I still know now. And that's what lifted me up, really. That's what kept me going. It was a paralyzing time. And of course, my very special Rebbetzin, who became my friend. Your Rebbetzin doesn't always become your friend, but Joanne, and everything you've done with the magnets and the everything that you've done and sent out to everybody in England. There were so many people davening, and just all of you. And I just want to say thank you, because that's what kept us going, really kept me going. My husband was out there and meeting with ministers and all this, but I was at home with my good friends, so I could just be normal around. And I really don't go out much because people say stupid things and then it upsets me. I try for it not to upset me, but I've got a new trick. I put an AirPod in when I go, well, I've got people who do shopping for me. There's 2 men in the Yishuv. I don't know how it started, but I send them a list and they go shopping for me. And someone did my laundry for about 6 months. And Baruch Hashem, I've managed to get help in the house. This is, obviously a process, but I think I've managed to not focus on what's in Gaza and trying to focus on the family and just what they need, specifically my 17-year-old. You know, and so I'm grateful that I'm more functional, and you know, when I look back at what I was 6 months ago, so I'm very grateful for that. And yeah, I don't know why, but I've got this. I didn't grow up or be Makara particularly Zionistic, and I married Mr. Zionism. No one could quite believe it. But I'm proud of my boys. I really am. And Daniel wouldn't have chosen it any other way. One thing that my husband didn't say is that Daniel was incredibly sharp and bright. Sharp like a pin, got things in 1 second. So the tank was very exciting for him. You know, it's claustrophobic in there and everything, but he loved the tank. His was a special tank as well. Missing 2 guns, by the way. So he had no choice on that day. It's a surveillance tank, so therefore it's missing 2 guns. When they're going to war, his tank's in the middle, and he tells the 2 tanks on either side what's going on. So he loved that tank, and but it's missing 2 guns. It can deflect a missile from 2 kilometers away. He told me it's indestructible, whatever. Anyway, the people from this unit have said, like, so he really felt for him. He had no choice. There was this, you know, they were shooting missiles, but it was too close, you know. Anyway, he shot 3,000 bullets. He was playing Fortnite, I think. But yeah, he wouldn't have chosen it any other way. And also, I don't know if I'll get through it, but I just wanted to read you something. I was in his room, and one of the Midrashet Tarova put out this booklet in his name, I think, and it was all the heroes, you know, of the Shoah and, you know, different things. I just want to, let me just see. So I don't know why, but I felt like I wanted to read this. Sorry, I don't even know if I can find it. Looking for favorites. Where did I find favorites? January. That's recent days. Okay. Oh, select. Okay. No, that's for the pictures. Sorry, I should have prepared this. That's
magnifying glass. You need to go into favorites.
yeah. Where do I go into favorites? Oh, here we go. Okay.
You have lots of favorites.
I know, I've got so many favorites.
Your text.
Oh, here it is. Okay, I don't know if I'll get through it, but this letter, I just opened the thing and this letter was there, and I thought I was in his room, and so this gave me some chizuk, because not much does, to be honest. Okay, this was Esther Kallingold. I don't know if, yeah, do you know her? So she was in 1948. She was fighting in 1948. Okay, so let's try and read this. Dear Mommy and Daddy and everybody, if you get this at all, it will be, I suppose, typical of all my hurried, messy letters. I'm writing it to beg of you that whatever may have happened to me, you will make the effort to take it in the spirit that I want, and to understand that for myself, I have no regrets. We have had a bitter fight. I have tasted of Gehenna, but it has been worthwhile, because I'm convinced that the end will see a Jewish state and a realization of our longings. I shall be only one of many who fell in sacrifice. And I was urged to write this because one in particular was killed today who meant a great deal to me. Because of the sorrow I felt, I want you to take it otherwise, to remember that we were soldiers and had the greatest and noblest cause to fight for. God is with us. God is with us. I know in his holy city, and I'm proud and ready to pay the price it may cost us to reprieve it. Don't think I've taken unnecessary risks. That does not pay when manpower is short. I hope you may have a chance of meeting any of my co-fighters who survive, if I do not, and that you will be pleased and not sad of how they talk to me. Please, please do not be sadder than you can help. I have lived my life, and this is where I felt really connected. I've lived my life fully, if briefly. And I think this is the best way, short and sweet. Very sweet. It has been here in our own land. I hope you shall enjoy from Mimi and Asher the satisfaction you missed in me. Let it be without regrets, and then I too shall be happy. I'm thinking of you all, every single one of you in the family, and I'm full of pleasure at the thought that you will one day, very soon I hope, come and enjoy the fruits of that for which we are fighting. Much, much love. Be happy and remember me in happiness. Your loving Esther. I don't know why I picked up this booklet. I don't know why, but I just thought the short and sweet. It really was in a great life. I said to myself, like, do you want to die and be with them, or do you want to live? You know, and then I thought to myself, okay, I don't want to die, but how am I going to live? So I'm going to end on a nice note, because I really, I've got a lot to be thankful for. But Hashem has given us comforts along the way, and Bezrat Hashem, we're going to be grandparents soon. So that's ending with a nice note. The day of when she's supposed to give birth is Chet Adar, the day we heard about Daniel. So again, bittersweet, but we're very excited, and we have a wonderful daughter-in-law. So please, God, these things do give us comfort in some way. And on Sunday was a very, very hard day. But I thought to myself, he didn't suffer. And as hard as this is, it really, really is very, very hard. He didn't suffer, and not for 1 second. Cognitively, I'm very grateful for that. And please, God, let everybody just come home, and may they be rehabilitated to have some sense of normalcy in their life. And yeah, I don't know why I had a feeling I needed to read this letter, but yes, well, yeah, it's just short and sweet. Like, it's really, anyway, sorry. It's very depressing being with the Perez. We are depressing bunch. Hey?
It's inspiring as well.
Oh, okay.
But I see the inspiration.
I mean, you all know.
Yeah.
Of course, you all know. Yeah. Okay, you all know about that. So yes, I saw. So obviously, yeah, well, thank you to
What, you're up to 12, 13,000?
16,000. We have our depot in
Northern
Australia.
Ireland, just say 20 in Northern
Wow.
Ireland.
Crazy places in
They are
America. We opened a depot in America, and now in Rome, the Shaliach there has taken it on, and he's going to put it on like Etsy, which is great because then people can pay through there. So
And get it delivered to you.
yeah, you get delivered to you.
To the post office.
So anyway, I just think also when you daven, like, it gives you a picture of what you're davening for, because you know you have it in your mind, but like to have a picture, you know, of what you're davening for and what. Yeah, we saw the Masirat Nefesh of Hamas and what they were allowed to do, not allowed, what they did to get Israel. We living in their houses, you know, Jerusalem meaning Israel meaning. So made me angry. I said, like, if it's on their dustbins and on their pencils and whatever, like, and in every room and whatever, like some mosque, even on a missile that my husband picked up in Nachal Oz, it's got 2 pictures. The shell, it's got 2 pictures of So I got angry. I said, like, what's going on here? Like, they are clear, you know? So we need to be clear as well. Thanks, Jam.